In the heart of late 19th century France, a dark cloud of injustice loomed over the nation, casting a shadow over its ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity. At the center of this storm stood a man named Alfred Dreyfus, an innocent victim caught in a web of deceit, anti-Semitism, and political turmoil. Prepare to delve into the depths of the Dreyfus Affair, a pivotal moment in French history that shook the very foundations of the Republic.
Setting the stage, a France in transition. As we journey into the late 19th century, France stood at a crossroads. The nation was still grappling with the aftermath of the tumultuous revolution and the rise of Napoleon III, while also embracing the winds of modernization and industrialization. However, beneath the surface of progress, a deep-seated anti-Semitism festered, fueled by economic and social anxieties. The roots of anti-Semitism. The long shadow of history. Anti-Semitism had a long and painful history in France, dating back to the Middle Ages. Jews were often scapegoated for economic woes, social unrest, and religious differences. The rise of nationalism and political extremism. The late 19th century saw a surge in nationalism and political extremism, which often targeted minority groups, including Jews. This was further exacerbated by the economic downturn of the 1880s, which led to increased competition for jobs and resources. The Dreyfus Affair as a catalyst. The Dreyfus Affair would become a flashpoint for anti-Semitism in France, exposing the deep-seated prejudices that permeated society.
Alfred Dreyfus, a life unraveling. Enter Alfred Dreyfus, a French Jewish artillery officer, born on October 9, 1859 in Mulhouse, into a family that had assimilated into French society. Despite his unwavering loyalty to his nation, Dreyfus' Jewish heritage would soon become a target, marking him for a cruel fate. A life of assimilation and service. Early life and education. Alfred Dreyfus received a traditional French education and excelled in his studies. He graduated from the prestigious École Polytechnique in 1878 and entered the French military, eager to serve his country. A model soldier. Dreyfus quickly rose through the ranks, earning a reputation as a brilliant and dedicated officer. He was promoted to captain in 1893 and assigned to the General Staff, the nerve center of the French army. A family man and pillar of the community. In 1890, Dreyfus married Lucy Hadamard, a devout Catholic, and they had 2 children. He was an active member of the Jewish community in Paris, but he also embraced his French identity and saw himself as a true Frenchman.
The Accusation, a web of deceit and anti-Semitism. In 1894, a bordereau, a letter containing military secrets, fell into the wrong hands. The French military, quick to point fingers, accused Dreyfus, the only Jewish officer among the suspects, of selling the secrets to Germany. With flimsy evidence and a climate of anti-Semitism, Dreyfus's fate was sealed. The accusatory finger points. The infamous bordereau. The bordereau, a poorly written and grammatically incorrect letter, was the sole piece of evidence against Dreyfus. Experts later determined that the bordereau was forged, but at the time, it was enough to convict Dreyfus. The anti-Semitic undercurrent. Dreyfus's Jewish heritage made him an easy target for suspicion and prejudice. The prevailing anti-Semitic attitudes of the time fueled the belief that a Jew could betray his country. The military's desire to protect itself. The French military, facing internal corruption and criticism, was determined to protect its reputation. Dreyfus, a convenient scapegoat, became the victim of a cover-up to shield the true culprit.
A nation divided, Dreyfusards versus anti-Dreyfusards. The Dreyfus Affair ignited a firestorm that tore France apart. The country split into 2 camps, the Dreyfusards, who believed in Dreyfus's innocence and fought for his vindication, and the Anti-Dreyfusards, who clung to the false accusation, fueled by anti-Semitism and a desire to protect the military's honor. The Dreyfusards, a beacon of hope. The voice of truth. Émile Zola, the renowned French writer, emerged as a powerful voice for the Dreyfusards. In his scathing open letter, J'accuse, Zola accused the French government of a monstrous miscarriage of justice, demanding Dreyfus's retrial. The intellectuals and the left. Many intellectuals, artists, and members of the left-wing political spectrum joined the Dreyfusards, recognizing the case as a fight for justice and human rights. They organized protests, wrote articles, and rallied public support for Dreyfus. The Dreyfusards' unwavering belief. Despite facing threats, intimidation, and even violence, the Dreyfusards remained steadfast in their belief in Dreyfus's innocence. They were driven by a sense of justice and a commitment to upholding the principles of the French Republic. The Anti-Dreyfusards, a bastion of prejudice. The military establishment. The French military, heavily invested in maintaining its reputation and power, formed the core of the Anti-Dreyfusards. They refused to admit their error and clung to the false accusation, fearing that a retrial would expose their internal corruption. Nationalist and right-wing groups. Nationalist and right-wing groups, fueled by anti-Semitism and a desire to preserve the traditional social order, aligned themselves with the Anti-Dreyfusards. They saw Dreyfus as a symbol of the dangers coming from socialism and the Jewish community. The Catholic Church. The Catholic Church, while not officially taking a side, generally leaned towards the anti-Dreyfusard camp. This was partly due to the prevailing anti-Semitic sentiment within the Church and its concerns about the growing influence of secularism and socialism. The battle for public opinion. The press as a battlefield. The Dreyfus Affair became a media frenzy, with newspapers and magazines on both sides publishing articles, editorials, and cartoons. The public devoured these publications, forming their opinions based on the often biased and sensationalized reporting. Street protests and violence. The affair spilled out onto the streets, with both Dreyfusards and anti-Dreyfusards organizing demonstrations and rallies. These clashes sometimes turned violent, reflecting the deep divisions within French society. The Dreyfus Affair is a cultural touchstone. The affair permeated French culture, influencing literature, theatre, and even fashion. It became a symbol of the struggle between justice and prejudice, between progress and tradition.
Émile Zola, a voice for truth. Émile Zola was a towering figure in French literature, known for his naturalist novels that exposed the harsh realities of society. He was also a committed activist, using his platform to advocate for social justice and human rights. Zola's unwavering courage. J'accuse, a call to conscience. In 1898, Zola penned his famous open letter, J'accuse, a scathing indictment of the French government for its role in the Dreyfus Affair. The letter was published in the newspaper, L'Aurore, and caused a sensation, galvanizing the Dreyfusards and infuriating the authorities. Facing persecution and exile. Zola's outspoken stance put him at odds with the government, which charged him with libel. Facing arrest and imprisonment, Zola fled to England, where he continued to champion Dreyfus's cause and fight for justice. A turning point in the affair. Zola's intervention marked a turning point in the Dreyfus Affair. His moral authority and international fame brought the case to a wider audience, drawing attention to the injustice and galvanizing support for Dreyfus's cause.
The question of guilt, a shaky foundation. As the affair unfolded, the weight of evidence against Dreyfus crumbled. Experts determined that the bordereau, the key piece of evidence against Dreyfus, was a forgery. The handwriting did not match Dreyfus's, and the document contained errors that someone familiar with military procedures would not have made. The bordereau was revealed to be a forgery, and the real culprit, Captain Ferdinand Walson Esterhazy, was exposed. Captain Esterhazy, a deeply indebted and morally compromised officer, was the actual spy who had sold the military secrets to Germany. His handwriting matched the bordereau, and he was later convicted of espionage. Yet, the French military, determined to protect its reputation, refused to admit its error. Despite the overwhelming evidence pointing to Walson Esterhazy, the French military remained entrenched in its belief of Dreyfus's guilt. They were unwilling to tarnish their reputation and admit to a grave error of judgment.
Retrial and Vindication, a partial victory. Major Marie-Georges Piquart, a courageous officer, unearthed the truth about Walson Esterhazy. With Piquart's revelations, the Dreyfusards gained renewed hope, and the demand for a retrial grew louder. Major Piquart was assigned to the Dreyfus case in 1896. As he delved into the evidence, he became increasingly convinced of Dreyfus's innocence and the guilt of Esterhazy. In 1899, Dreyfus was finally brought back to France for a retrial. Despite overwhelming evidence of his innocence, the military-dominated court found him guilty, albeit with extenuating circumstances. This verdict, while far from a full exoneration, offered a glimmer of hope for Dreyfus and his supporters. Dreyfus was sentenced to 10 years in solitary confinement, a punishment far from justice.
The Dreyfus Affair left an indelible mark on French history. It exposed the deep-seated anti-Semitism and the fragility of justice in a society grappling with modernity and its challenges. The affair also highlighted the power of the press and the importance of individual rights. Alfred Dreyfus, a man stripped of his honor and freedom, emerged from the affair a symbol of resilience and the fight for truth. His story serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of prejudice, the importance of due process, and the unwavering pursuit of justice, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The Dreyfus Affair remains a poignant chapter in human history, a testament to the power of truth, the resilience of the human spirit, and the ongoing struggle for justice and equality. Do you want to discover the most captivating stories of history and culture? Subscribe to our channel to never miss the next videos. Don't miss a single video. Activate the bell to receive notifications when we publish new content, and get ready to explore the most fascinating pages of human history. Thanks you for watching.